This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. I know better than to put this video on YouTube, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know why? Because just the thought of censoring what I say or speaking something in one place versus the other and saying to myself, I shouldn't be allowed, or I couldn't be allowed, or I won't be allowed to talk about that really bothers me. So I'm going to talk about this commercial that aired during the Super Bowl for this company called Pfizer. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of them before. And again, I want to point out that this is not a conspiracy. I'm just talking about some of the stuff I saw in the commercial, breaking down the Super Bowl ads, you know? And again, I before I even mention some of the stuff in the commercial, I should remind you to subscribe to my backup channel, Time for Reckoning, below, because I might be getting a strike very soon, like on this video. So Pfizer came out with a commercial for the Super Bowl where they played Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. And I'm not going to actually play the actual ad. You could look it up for yourselves because of copyright reasons for Queen's song, Don't Stop Me Now. Pfizer, Don't Stop Me Now. And the title of the whole commercial was called Here's to Science. Here's to Science. And I want to break down the commercial with you because they were talking about Here's to Science, paying homage to the heroes of science past. I mean, the witches and Satanists of times past. And we saw Here's to the Next Fight was included in there. And of course, I'll cover that towards the end of the video because the next fight they're talking about is curing cancer. Like I've mentioned over the years, how it's going to go from everything they're doing now, seeing the resistance that people are having, and then of course, moving on to something like cancer because they'll be able to lure people in that way. Right? Get it? Like they get you sick from the chemicals. You know, cancer is caused, primarily from a lot of the chemicals like aluminum and barium that are going inside of your body day in and day out. So they could cause you to get cancer, but they'll have the solution for it, which is amazing, right? So one way or the other, they're getting in you, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here, right? So as they pay homage to all of these alchemists from times past, and for those of you that don't know, okay, we're talking about pharmaceutical companies, right? People out there are like, what is I don't even know what pharmaceutical means. Okay, the word pharmaceutical means pharmakeia. Okay, pharmakeia, for those of you that don't know. And in Latin, pharmakeia is a healing or harmful medicine, a healing or poisonous herb, a drug, poisonous potion, or a magic potion. So I guess we're talking about a magic potion, right? I don't think the algorithm really knows about that. So as we're talking about potions, and we're talking about pharmacy, we're talking as well about what they call chemistry, which is really rooted in alchemy. And if you're not familiar with alchemy, it's, stuff that people call magic potions, sorcery, witchcraft, right? So speaking of witchcraft, we start off in the commercial with black and white Masonic checkerboard floors. Because none of these people are Freemasons. They like black and white tile floors. Or maybe they'll even admit to being Freemasons because it doesn't matter because people seem to think that that's a giant conspiracy theory, but it's nothing more than actual fact. And as the commercial progresses from one Mason to the next, I want to cover how we landed on Rosalind Franklin, right? Some of you are like, who's Rosalind Franklin? Well, Rosalind Franklin is the unsung hero whose research helped discover the structure of the DNA. Now, you might say, oh, well, maybe that's a good thing. She discovered the structure of the DNA, but actually what Rosa was really doing was tweaking the DNA, figuring out how to manipulate the DNA. In fact, Rosalind Franklin at one point was actually accused of performing this thing called witchcraft. Now, that might sound crazy to you to believe because, of course, she couldn't have been performing witchcraft, using chemistry, aka alchemy, and then trying to manipulate people's DNA. I mean, she was really just trying to see what it looked like. Honest to God, she told us, right? She had to be telling the truth. She told us that she was just finding out what the genetic code looked like, but she didn't want to do anything more than that because these people haven't been trying to manipulate people's genetic codes for, a long period of time. It's only predictive programming over and over and over again with a superhuman race, right? Well, the only way they'd be able to build that would be, of course, to alter your genetic code. So Rosalind was working on that. Of course, Rosalind also likes bagels, for those of you that don't know. Yeah, loves bagels. And Rosalind was accused of witchcraft. Even some of her colleagues were, scientists, quote unquote. We're talking about the smoke of witchcraft emanating from her laboratory, right? But don't think anything more than that. That's a conspiracy. So as they pay homage to Rosalind, they also pay homage to another guy, Dr. Drew Wiseman, who's still with us today. You can see the pictures of Dr. Drew, no relation to the therapist, Dr. Drew, but if this guy, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, take a look at Dr. Drew here. Does Dr. Drew look like someone you could trust, or does Dr. Drew look like someone, well, you would probably see in a true crime lineup, right? But of course that would never happen because Dr. Drew here is helping people out. So what is Dr. Drew? Well, he works on this thing called RNA. I don't know what it is, but that's what he does. So they're paying homage to him in the current. I can't say any more than that. RNA, their goal is to make us healthier and better. So that's what they make medicine for, right? So as a commercial goes on, it gets even weirder. They start showing us like mutated DNA on a computer screen. We even see like these types of viruses with faces singing at us, like talking to us, almost like some type of a demon inside of the actual, genetic structure, right? I mean, it looks like a demon in it. What are we supposed to think? It's a walrus or something, right? And that's inside of the genetic code. They show us that on the screen as they're mixing all their science together. We're not supposed to understand any of this stuff. We're supposed to just look at it and go, wow, these people are so smart. Witchcraft and all that stuff's not real. These people are incredible. Let me kiss their rear ends more, right? And of course, as they show us all this medicine on the screen, they couldn't help but show us an all-seeing eye that looks quite demonic, right? Almost looks like the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, like the one on the back of the dollar bill. I mean, this is a pretty demonic eye, but I guess it goes hand in hand with what they're trying to sell you here in the commercial, right? I mean, they're trying to sell you, well, I mean, not trying to sell anything. They're trying to tell us how great they are and how they're all heroes, of course, right? So as the commercial continues on, we see some duping delight in the commercial, which is wonderful, right? We even see we see duping delight over and over actually in the commercial because they're laughing right in front of our faces. We even get Sir Isaac Newton popping up with a little bit of a cameo eating the forbidden fruit. Of course, Isaac Newton's eating the forbidden fruit. Isaac Newton, if you don't know, is supposedly the guy, the mastermind of gravity. In fact, you might say that he invented it. You know what I mean? You might say that. But anyway, so as the commercial goes on, and we can see what they're paying homage to is medicine, curing things, right? Not manipulating anything, not doing anything other than curing medicine. These are our heroes. All of these people, by the way, rooted in witchcraft accusations and sorcery in the past. I showed you the black and white Masonic checkerboard before. So as it goes on, they want to let you know during the Super Bowl when millions of people are watching, because I've covered this over the years. They want you to know that next up on their list of things to cure and make medicine for is cancer. Well, of course it is, right? Well, of course it is. Because that's what we're going to head towards, where people are going to not have diseases anymore because these potions that they put in their body aren't just going to make them immune to disease. They're going to make them immune to death as well. So instead of thinking about why cancer is such a problem, of course, this is how they market things to us. This little girl, oh my goodness, right? And they were going to find a cure. We're heroes here. We're modern day heroes. As we manipulate your genetic structure, we should all bow and applaud and just pay homage to people who have been accused of witchcraft and sorcery. Of course, that's all make-believe. Now, people used to get accused of being a witch. Does anyone ever ask why? Does anyone go, wait a minute, all right, so so-and-so is accused of being a witch. What were they doing? No, they don't. No, they don't. And if they do, they automatically have built-in reasons. They say, well, she was a woman, and she was doing science. So Rosalind was outsmarting people. So they called her a witch because they were sexist. Oh, okay. How about in other areas of stuff where people, finding missing children or, dead cats, anything like that? Oh, no, they didn't like the way they dressed, right? I mean, they smelled like sulfur. I get it. But, there obviously was going to be more of a reason for the people to make accusations of witchcraft. So now, of course, witchcraft and pharmaca is tied in to our everyday lives with pharmaceuticals, with modern day medicine, with words like science, right? And we're all supposed to just ooh and ah, and of course, trust in it, right? And that's what the articles out there are talking about today after the Super Bowl, how they ran a Here's to Science ad, and the ad, is just wonderful, and it pays homage to Isaac Newton and Charles Pfizer, Galileo, Albert Einstein, right? And it says the Super Bowl is a wonderful platform. It's probably the only platform in the world where you could talk to every audience that's out there, both B2B and B2C, business to business, that is, and business to consumer. And, they're not trying to tell you anything by the stuff you see in the ads. No, the winks or the Duping, like, they're not trying to tell you anything. They're just trying to show you, genetic codes on the screen that aren't being manipulated. They're just curing disease, right? And that's why they show you parasites and things like that inside the body And, eventually, as we look into the people in the commercial and see they're connected to witchcraft, we're told that next up is cancer, right? Well, maybe the next thing up is cancer, and some people will go, finally, cancer, because they just tried an experiment, and of course, not a lot of people fell for the experiment, but they know that a lot of people will fall for this experiment because a lot of people have this specific problem. Speaking of cancer, they just don't know why they do, because they don't look at their food labels. They don't look up at the sky. They don't look at those towers in our towns that emit radiation poisoning and cause cancer. They don't think about any of that stuff. Apparently, it's the only time that a lot of these people believe in God is when they get sick, because then they can blame God for it, instead of blaming, quote unquote, science. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a good chance that this video's gone. I tried to do the best I could to get around it. I saw this commercial, and I said, I gotta at least cover it, because it's ridiculous. It's over the top. They're airing it during the Super Bowl. It's right in our faces, as it always is. So I needed to cover it here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to my other channel if you haven't yet. It is linked below. And also join the podcast if you want more content of mine. I'm going to begin uploading more podcasts weekly. And I'm going to maybe even be segueing into doing podcasts on a day-to-day basis versus doing YouTube. I don't want to give up doing YouTube, but I know what's going to eventually happen, especially if some of my videos get a lot of views, like some of my Super Bowl videos have. The writing ends up being on the wall, unfortunately, because people go, there he is. What? I thought that guy was dead, or what happened to that guy? Then they go, oh, there he is, and then they go, delete. So just make sure you're subbed to the other channels as well as the podcast. Let me know what you thought of this commercial. I'm sure you all saw it. And if you didn't see it, well, you need to check it out because it's pretty unbelievable. Thank you guys again for being here. God bless all of you as always and your families.